Hello. Today we are going to show how to actually calculate the velocity of the ball itself. Building off of my last video, we talked about how a ball is moving in two dimensions, how there is a horizontal and vertical velocity. But really, when you look at this, the ball is not moving just horizontal and then vertical. It is doing both at the same time. It is going at some angle from point 1 to point 2. And we were smart and we looked at this and says, all right, it's going a little bit to the right and it's going a little bit up. But actually the ball did not go, it's not making stair steps as it goes through its entire path. It goes at that angle, that curved path the whole time. So we're going to try to figure out how in the world can I look at this curved path and get the actual velocity of the ball. All right, so we're going to zoom in on my little triangle. What you might not realize is this is going to be a right triangle. You move horizontally and you move vertically, you get some perpendicular motion. So with the right triangle, we can find out the sides, any one of the sides and any one of the angles. We have a velocity in the x direction, we have a velocity in the y direction, and the velocity in the x direction, I just threw this ball, I'm picking random points, but at this point in time, we will say that the ball is going 2.2 meters per second horizontally, and it is going 1.3 meters per second vertically. So we have a horizontal speed and we have a vertical speed. I want to know the velocity total, the total velocity. So Vt equals total velocity. And to solve that, because it's a triangle, that should not be too tricky for us. We are going to use a common equation, the Pythagorean equation, Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My a is going to be my velocity of x, 2.2 squared. My b is going to be 1.3 squared, and all of that equals my total velocity squared. And we can run through a little bit of algebra, square both of those numbers, square both of those numbers, and you will get the total velocity will be total squared velocity that is 4.84 plus 1.3 squared, 1.69. Add those together, you get 6.53, my total velocity squared. But I am not looking for my total velocity squared, I'm looking for my total velocity. So to cancel that square, I have to take the square root, and that gives me an answer of 2.6 meters per second. 2.6 meters per second. And I was using significant figures to do my rounding at the end. So my total velocity is 2.6 meters per second if I go back up. But that still is an incomplete description because it only tells me the magnitude. A velocity also has direction. It is going at some angle. And we can find that angle. We can find that angle using some trig functions. So I'm going to redraw over here. We have 2.2, we have 1.3 up, we have 2.6, and now we need to find our angle theta. So to find our angle theta, we need to use one of our three trig functions, sine, cosine, or tangent. And if you don't remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we have three trig functions that we can solve, and since we know all three sides, we can choose any of them that we want to. I'm going to use tangent. You could have chosen any of them, but I'm going to use tangent. So, now for the actual solving. We have tangent of theta, so tangent times some angle theta equals opposite over adjacent. Since I'm looking at this angle, opposite is the one directly across. Tangent of theta is 1.3. Adjacent is the angle that is the side next to it, which is 2.2. And I will divide those and get 0.59. And at this point, you want to make sure your calculator is in not radians, is in degrees, because we're trying to solve this for a degree. My goal is to get theta by itself, not the tangent of theta, but theta by itself. So I have to move tangent to the other side. And I can do that by taking the inverse tangent. The inverse tangent of 0.59. So I did inverse tangent here, that got inverse tangent to the negative first power, that canceled that. I did inverse tangent on this side, and I'm multiplying those by the inverse tangent. So tangent inverse, which is a nice button on your calculator. Usually if you can find your tangent button, it's the one above it. So second tangent, 0.59. And that gives me the angle. My theta is 31 degrees. So now I know that. My total velocity is 2.6 meters per second at 31 degrees. And that would be my final answer.